Welcome back, Honors. So we left off in class today talking about the Hebrew people, and we're going to continue forward with that, and we're going to wrap them up a little bit. We talked about today, the covenant between God and Abraham, and its two parts, right? The Promised Land of Canaan, and the chosen people aspect. We talked about the differences between Judaic faith and Christianity, talking about, what are we talking about? The concept that there's no hell, and then also the arranged marriages and things like that, right? Go back. We were talking a lot about a lot of different stuff today, so make sure you go back this evening and kind of read through what you wrote down just so you make sure you completely understand it, all right? But let's keep going, okay? So we talked about the Ten Commandments and how eventually that's going to evolve into Jewish law, right? And we asked if you could name all of them, and impressively, you guys did name all of them. Anyway, we also talked about how the Jews believed that high morals led to a salvation, whereas other Eastern religions did not necessarily believe in, code of conduct, right? So one big, large difference from some of the old, some of the mighty empire religions like Mesopotamia and Egypt is that their gods didn't enforce a code of conduct, right? They didn't talk about how a positive society being mirrored by its religion, okay? So that's a very, very important aspect of the Jewish faith and of the Hebrew people, okay? So, but anyway, code of conduct, very important. Also, the irony is that eventually when some of the early Christians are trying to convert people, when Paul spoke to the Athenians in Greece, he kind of references the ideas of their really emotionally driven gods that have spite and very, very dark humanesque emotions, and use a spin against that to try and get people over to Christianity. But the Jews don't do that because they don't what? Very good job, Elena. Very nice, right? They don't try to convert people, which is very important to remember. Now, anyway, so daily conduct for the lives of Hebrews also was different from the other bigger ancient empires, right? Now, Jews did a couple of things, like they condemned adultery for women. However, men stepping out with concubines, slaves, and servants was actually very, very accepted, okay? It was actually considered like a right of manhood. Now, so that's one big different fun fact about their daily lives. Also, women were not allowed to divorce their husbands. Marriages were arranged. Marriages were actually arranged. You didn't go date someone. You actually had an arranged marriage through one of your family members. Also, the brother law is a really neat one. The brother law was that, let's say hypothetically, that there was a Jewish couple, right, in the ancient Hebrew ways of doing things. If they were married and they never produced a male, then actually if the husband died, the wife would marry the brother of the husband in hopes to sire a male child, right? So, but hypothetically, if they had already had a male, that didn't necessarily happen, okay? So that's a good one to remember. Now, they also, like I said, they led their lives to the Ten Commandments and things like that. And to continue on, though, women educated their children at home. This is actually going to become a standard amongst a lot of other ancient empires. They taught their children reading, writing, arithmetic, the basic things. Now, they traded with the Phoenicians a lot. And because this is mainly because in the Jewish community, you were encouraged to specialize in a craft, right? Jewelry making, smithing, carding, cobbling. Every Jewish family had a specific thing that they did very, very well. Also, some of the earliest bankers were Jewish in the Jewish community as well. Dietary restrictions are also going to arise on how to properly slaughter and process meat. This is going to develop into the kosher diet aspect that we understand today. The big one, of course, is no pork, right? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that in the Bible it says you're only supposed to eat hooved animals, right? And pigs don't have hooves. They have, weird little toes. All right, so anyway, but continuing forward, that's going to be it for the Jewish community. But now we're going to go ahead and get into some stuff that we'll talk about a lot tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit about the Assyrians, right? So let's jump right into the Assyrian Empire. Let's get going. Now, the geography of the Assyrian area. Now, as you can tell by just looking at this area, we've talked about this location in one of our map quizzes already. We've actually just spent this entire time talking about this location with Israelites, right? So the location is that Assyria is located in the northern area of the Mesopotamias, right? Its empire spanned the following modern-day countries: northern Iraq, northeastern Syria. I wonder where they got their name from. Assyrians, Syria, right? So northwestern Iran, and southeastern Turkey, okay? So they were a very, very large empire. The Tigris and the Euphrates River cut directly through their empire. Now, resources also in this area were plentiful and contributed to their very, very fast growth. A lot of it has to do with the new irrigation techniques that had came up And also the Assyrians were a very progressive group. They actually invented the very first libraries, right? So anyway, let's continue going then. Now, geography of Assyria, we're going to keep going forward. The geographic features, the big ones anyway, is that the land was flat and exposed, making it very easy to attack, though. So this is going to very, very much dramatically affect the culture of the Assyrians, because if you haven't been able to tell already, geography played a major, major role in the shaping of cultures of these ancient empires, right? So, since the land was very flat and exposed and prone to attack, this influenced their culture to develop a very warlike behavior and aggressive defense of themselves, okay? They repelled invaders by setting up a very, very strong military. Now, they also had adequate rainfall from many cities at the foot of the mountains, which actually helped also like kind of that natural levee process of bringing in a lot of fresh water near the Zagros Mountains. Land and resources also, though. The Assyrian land is very rich, very fertile, and essential to their agriculture. They're a major crop-producing area. The Assyrians had it all. The Assyrians were successful in abundant crops. They had figs, olives, pomegranates, almonds, mulberries, cotton, grains. They had some of the earliest textiles coming out of their area. The Assyrians were set up for a lot of success, as you can tell. Now, the irony is, as we go forward, if they just would have been chill, they would have been fine. Now, this is a really neat thing. This is Assyrian-style art, okay? So, they did a lot of things with reliefs, okay? Reliefs were very, very popular in Assyrian art. Now, a lot of that has to do with the amount of stone that was available. We're going to keep getting into it right now. So, worship in ancient Assyrian religions was that the king was the highest rank, okay? Very theocratic, very related to their religion. Assur was their national god, who was actually represented by the king. He was depicted as a warrior god and a leader in war, okay? So, of course, with them being a warlike culture, their god would be a warrior. And they also promoted the idea of the theocracy. So, that right there is Assur, and also sometimes Assur can be seen in a winged victory mode, like this one right here. All right, so anyway, so keep going forward, and there we go. So, Assyrian art was always characterized by reliefs, most of them carved into stone, because stone was such an important resource for the Assyrians, being at the base of those Zagros Mountains. And there was also an abundance of it. There's just a ton of it. So Assyrians excelled in working with bronze, which also was very plentiful at the time. And places like the palace of, Ashurbanipal were decorated with shallow carved stone sculptures. Okay, scenes depicted lion hunts, winged bulls, and winged bulls with human faces, which is over here to the right, and this is also incorporated into a lot of their sculptures, okay? So, we are going to, I think, stop right here. Let me check. Yeah, we're going to stop right here for the day, okay? And we're going to pick up on the Assyrians tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. All right, so we'll be able to see you then, and we're going to get into a lot of the really, really cool like military technology aspects of the Assyrians, okay? So, can't wait to see you all then. Hope you all have a great evening, Honors. Catch you tomorrow.